Greetings, people who have an unconsciously perverse affinity for ultra low-tech videos. Now, if you've seen my amplified circle of fifths videos, 18A, 18B, and 18C, you'll know where we stand, and we'll pick up from there. You will know to this point that I considered the harmonic series. I considered the 120 button Stradella configuration. I even considered the 140 button Stradella configuration. This is a partial chart. And I ultimately decided to fashion my amplified circle of fifths featuring the minor third interval throughout the whole entire chart. Okay, you heard that before and you've seen this many times. Now, to be able to look deeper into the correlation between the amplified circle of fifths and the Stradella configuration, I invented a little device for my chart called the Stradella slice pair. I already explained that. This slice pair provides all of the tones needed to fill in all four critical, theoretically critical tones for the root and its theoretically most valuable relationships. In other words, its root file itself, the relative minor file, the relative major file, and the file with the devil's interval as the bass. Okay, I talked about that. But that Stradella slice pair, the subject and forward slice, provide all the tones to expose some really good theoretical stuff. That's a beautiful thing. Now we're kind of up to speed here. I showed you the Stradella file mapped out larger so you can see it better. I showed you the amplified circle of fifths slice, and you see that you have a similar design setup. It's similar, not exactly the same, not exactly parallel, but it's the best I could do. Okay, remember on that 140 bass Stradella, you did have your minor third interval, but I chose to stick with the minor third on the slice, even though there's a major third on your Stradella file. Okay? That's something I couldn't remedy. I couldn't fix it exactly. And I wonder if the people who designed the 140 button Stradella system had to ponder this and consider this same problem many, many years ago. You see, I thought about that. I think they kind of figured, well, you know what? We'll take the 120 bass Stradella, we'll keep the major third counterbass, but we'll add that minor third on our second counterbass rank, okay? So here we have it blown up, and I explained some of this already. These two ideas, these concepts are similar, not exactly the same. That is the best I could do. Now let's take an even deeper look. All right? Let's blow it up and make it even bigger. Here's your amplified circle of fifths slice, your Stradella file. Here's your major data ring, counter major data ring, counter bass on your file and bass on your file. Once again, I have to tell you that the best I could do was to keep the minor third here, even though it doesn't match perfectly with the major third on the Stradella. But I didn't get bummed out. I moved forward because theoretically we can fix that. See down here on your subject slice, you have your minor third, which was the problem. But on your forward slice, all right, diagonally across from your root tone, your tonal center, you have your E, you have your major third. So what you could do on your circle of fifths, if it bothered you and you didn't really understand or you couldn't comprehend the minor third concept, you could always take this minor data ring here, the minor data ring, and just shift it over one See, you shift this E over 1, and you'd get your major third just for a mental vision, if it really bothers you. If it really bothers you that I couldn't remedy this problem, you still have an alternative view. You can find your major third that's in your subject slice right here, diagonally across, in your forward slice, okay? So at least you have a helpful hint, a helpful little reminder there, cross-reference. Now, let's blow up this part here. You have your major data ring on your amplified circle and your minor, and over here you have your major chord on your Stradella file and your minor chord on your Stradella file. And you see here that in your data ring, in your slice, you have your relative minor, and you see over here your minor third interval, all right, which is the same as A to C, is introduced into your file. Now, I know these were both created separately, but the point is they're kind of mentally pointing toward each other. Now, here you have the 7th rank on your Stradella file, but the 7th is incomplete. I stress this because this is the only rank on your accordion buttons that is incomplete. C, E, B flat. The 5th tone in that full dominant 7th chord is missing. It's missing. Down here, you have your diminished chord, and your diminished rank on your Stradella file is complete. That's a complete diminished chord. Now over here, all right, on your circle slice, you have your diminished 5th or augmented 4th, but you have your diminished 5th, and your interval here is A to E flat on your file, okay, on this diminished rank, you have your diminished 5. Now down here you see something pretty cool. All the tones you need for all these chord buttons, okay, well actually all these buttons on the file are obtained from your subject and your forward slice. Everything's obtained in just these 7 cells, okay? 7 cells of the 2 different slices. And here's your data ring. Okay, that's your data rings. Now over here you see that this chord here, the A diminished, that is a complete chord. That's complete, all right? And down here you see the missing tone, the missing tone in your C7, all right, on your Stradella file, your C7 button, if you wanted that to be a full C diminished 7, because it's in the C file, all right, there's a missing tone. And you say, well, what's the missing tone? Well, right here in your subject slice, the missing tone is listed. It's right there, your G flat. You see? If you want to think of this theoretically as a full C diminished 7, okay? Then you say, well, what tone's missing? You can't remember? It's clearly shown on your subject slice. Right there, your diminished 7 is shown, okay? So that's a beautiful thing. But it's actually, hold on, even more beautiful. Well, I'll show you that on the full chart here. You see, there's your G flat. That's the same as G flat, and harmonically speaking. So it shows you, here's your A, C, E flat. Okay, that's your A diminished 5th chord. But if you wanted this to be a C diminished 7, on the accordion, on that button, you'd have these 3 tones, and that's the missing one. That would be G flat, okay? See if you can mentally envision that. And then getting back to this is another beautiful thing. I couldn't find anybody anywhere in the world talking about this. I showed you the circle of 5th slice, okay? I showed you the Stradella file. I compared the two I showed that I could not create a perfect system. Years ago, when I was doing my scale system and my chord system, I tried to invent a system that works together, scale and chord system, and I failed. But because I failed, I discovered what my invention, G, C, F here, C, G, and F, as the perfect chord. Because of my failure with my chord and scale system, I ended up inventing the amplified circle of fifths. So you see, failure's good sometimes, not frequently. So here, I showed you this thing here, and I talked about the Stradella file, how you have your counterbass, bass, major chord button, minor chord button, and then I mentioned that this is an incomplete button here. It's not a complete dominant seventh chord. It's the only rank on the button rank on the accordion that's not complete. But here's a beautiful thing I discovered, and no one's saying this, so allow me to say this. On your Stradella file, you could actually have an accordion designed as such that would make it really neat. You can do this as an alternate button, In other words, it would be an alternate rank of buttons. Okay, watch this. You have your counterbass, okay, Stradella file. Here's my alternate suggestion. You have your bass, it's the same, alternate, right? You have your major rank, that's the same. And you have your minor rank, that's the same. But when you get down to here, whoever designed this was designed, this is incomplete. So what I suggest is you put a diminished button rank in your Stradella mechanism. You put an E diminished, the tones for an E diminished chord in this diminished rank with these tones, E, G, B flat. All right? And then down here, you have your diminished on your regular Stradella, and here's the alternate one, but it's the same thing. It's an A diminished chord. So you see here, when you play this hypothetical button with this E diminished chord, all right, to get your full C dominant 7 chord, all you would do is play a C bass with it. This is something I haven't heard anybody ever say this about the accordion. You could design an accordion with a diminished rank, and you could design the accordion with another diminished rank like you normally would see. You see that? And that would give you all the basic chords that you need, and it would also allow for these chord buttons, each and every one of them, to be a complete chord. And I have to close because I'm taking too long. The only thing I can say in the end here is, of all my systems, if a new student or a child is learning the accordion right from the beginning, I really heavily suggest that somebody seriously consider my amplified circle of fifths, because I know the student, if it's given this data, this chart from the beginning, will learn faster and probably better. I don't know, but I believe that. So thanks for being incredibly patient, and I'm pretty sure I'm done with the series, the Stradella Connection. I think we've covered everything. So thanks for being incredibly patient, and good night.